So I understand we are live. So we could start the meeting. We start off as normal with our introductions of the members and any guests. So I'll start off. Dan Saunders, Chair. Paul, you want to go?
Paul Hogan, traveling on the road.
Okay. Then Rob.
Rob Wengel.
All right.
Jane Evelyn.
Excellent.
Hadia Crockett Current.
All right, Nadia, do we have anyone in the audience?
No audience members.
Okay. And Rob, tonight you'll be promoted to the board and a voting member in Liz's absence. Okay, so thank you.
Thanks.
All right. So first on the agenda is the review and approval of minutes from December 17th that Liz sent around. Any, hopefully everyone had a chance to review. Any questions on them?
I'm good.
Okay.
I'll
So-
move we accept the minutes.
All right. I'll second that.
Second.
All right. All right. Paul will second. Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
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 All right. So approved 4-0. So thank you, Liz, and hope for a quick recovery. And same for Galen. Hopefully he's recovering well as well. Okay. Next up is really a review of the minimal land use ordinance changes. So we've talked about a whole lot of things, and then we decided to table some of those topics. And so really tonight's meeting is let's just go through the final changes, verify whether or not we're comfortable with the way they're written. If there any needs to add a comma or change a word, let's do that. And then hopefully in our third part of the agenda, we can make an official motion to present these to the Board of Selectmen.
So I don't know if everyone had a chance to look these over or not. I put them in the SharePoint last week, maybe I think 2 weeks ago.
Mhm.
But basically the things that are in here are what Galen and I heard from the committee are what you guys are comfortable with. So put in a couple of definitions to help out later on, but basically building height, which we didn't hear any concerns about from anybody on the board. Hazard tree is helpful later on when we talk about when we have the hazard tree section. And then sapling, seedling, and storm damaged tree, same situation. Definitions that are necessary for the language proposed later on. So our first section here is just removing Waterfront Advisory Committee from section 245.11. We don't have a Waterfront Advisory Committee, and I don't believe we ever have, according to Galen's research. So it just didn't really make any sense to have in there. So I don't think that there's really anything to mull over here.
Nope.
The next section is our hazard trees, storm damaged trees, and dead tree removal section. The only thing we heard from the board that you guys had concerns about was the 2-inch increasing the diameter requirements. So we just put it back to the minimal standards in chapter 1000. And we hadn't heard any other issues with this section, but if anyone has any, please feel free to let me know.
Yeah, so here actually I was thinking about this as I was rereading it today, and there's a section on emergencies. So it got me thinking about that has to do with the vegetation, which I thought was interesting. It was only associated with one section, but the emergency only sort of applies to the department, what I'm assuming is Department of Land Use at the state. Right. Right. So yeah. So section E, the removal of vegetation associated with emergency response activities conducted by the department, the U.S. EPA, and the United States Coast Guard and their agents. And I could see and envision where there could be an emergency response by our own fire department in some manner. Brush fire, some tree fell on a home, whatever it might be.
Okay.
Is our department, is our own town protected there could be the public works hasn't to take down a tree that happens to fall that would qualify under this.
Yeah, that's a good
Are,
question.
are we protected from this? Because it doesn't show that activity, at least the way it's written, is
What
covered.
section are we looking at?
This is 245.19, section E.
So that's specifically around vegetation versus the trees.
Hmm.
But there was no section within those trees that talked about emergency. So maybe by default, that's okay. It's not documented, so therefore it's accepted. Who knows?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think just from what I know of how we've operated in the past, it has never been an issue. I
Okay.
think that people are generally, and I would be, I can read up in our existing ordinance. It's possible that we already have a section that deals with that. But we definitely, in emergency situations, our public works crews are certainly able to remove dead
Yeah.
trees and brush that's in the way.
Okay. I just don't want us to end up putting ourselves into a bind here where we did something then we weren't supposed to. And then the town is at liable to do whatever, or the the revegetation, et cetera. Because we were doing it as part of a emergency response.
Okay, that makes sense.
Okay.
Does anyone have further comments about the hazard tree and vegetation removal sections? Cool. And then, but we have revegetation requirements. My memory is that everyone was pretty okay with these. Again, we already have pretty strict revegetation requirements. For example, we already follow up with people when they replant and require photos and a replanting plan. So did anybody have any specific comments about this section?
Nope, not from my end.
Perfect. We'll keep moving. And then, so the townwide regulations section, we added an exemption for exterior stairs to access and egress the first floor of a residential structure. I did take out the part about pergolas and arbor trellises since we didn't have consensus on that. So it's just the stairs that are being exempted here.
Okay.
And in the non-conforming section, this is also this is following up on stairs and exempting them from footprint calculations, specifically stairs that are like basically minimal code stairs. It's in there somewhere. So those are, again, the stairs. I think everyone is pretty comfortable with the stairs exemption since people kind of need it to be able to elevate their homes.
Yep.
And then I believe the last language change here is the amendment to site plans. This is just creating actual procedure for when people need to amend site plans, which I don't believe we had before. So this is a new section. Just subdivision plans, people are allowed to amend. They can come back in front of the planning board to do so, but we didn't have that language before for site plans. Any comments about this section?
Well, I was looking at the attachment and I was kind of wondering in the attachment, the single family dwelling. I was looking at the setbacks. And the difference between the single family and the two family dwelling. And wondering why they're different on the side and rear. Why is there 5? But
That's a good question. Honestly, I have no idea. That is not a proposed change that we have.
right.
My guess is just my assumption would be that it's because it's generally a larger structure. They wanted to, whoever wrote this part of the ordinance wanted to make sure it was farther set back by default. But that's just a guess of mine.
Yeah.
And then if you have a single family home with an accessory dwelling unit, that's still considered just a single family home.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, we treat it a little bit differently in like our assessing system and whatnot, but it's just treated as a single family dwelling generally. I mean, the accessory dwelling unit still has to conform with setbacks and everything. It's not,
But it would have the setbacks of a single family
yes,
home rather than a two-family dwelling, even though there might be two families there.
yes. Because a two-family dwelling is one, it's 2 units, but it's one structure. Whereas a single family and an ADU can be in the same structure, but can also be separated. And it is treated differently than a two-family.
Yeah, I think these numbers have been listed here for many, many, many years. I believe back in 2005, they had some suggestions to make changes, but that wasn't well received. So they've been pretty much left static since then.
That's good.
That's my recollection anyways.
So that's pretty much everything. This attachment
Yeah.
section is just removing, this is a leftover from LD 2003, removing the 1 per lot language from
Right.
where it says single family dwelling. This is something that was supposed to be done when the LD 2003 language went through, but was just overlooked in the overall changes. So it's just a holdover, nothing really new. So that's the whole thing.
Okay. I was just thinking, in the LD 2003 discussions, there were some things we chose not to do at that time, right? And I believe that had to do with this whole piece of a single family dwelling on a lot and so forth. And we never, right? I don't think we ever really addressed that piece because it wasn't quite understood how that was going to be managed going forward. Some folks felt we were okay based with how our current ordinances were written, that you wouldn't end up with multiple homes on a lot, because it still required you to meet the lot area for structure.
Okay.
I think that's what it was. Is that how you recall it, Paul?
Yeah, I thought at the very end of that Amy may have opined that we were in conformance, that the way we had it now, but
Okay.
it's vague, frankly, and I don't have it in front of me.
Yeah. My only thought is if we actually make this change here, does that open us up to something if we don't have the other stuff in place? That's if Amy felt it was good the way our ordinance were currently written, then we should be fine with removing this. So maybe that's just a check, Nadia.
Check with Amy about removing this language.
Yeah, to make sure that we're not open, that we have other language within our ordinance that we're protected.
Yep. So this is actually language that Galen and Amy
Oh,
meant
they
to
worked.
in the first round.
Okay.
So that
Okay.
it's just one thing that kind of,
This did get.
everything else got missed, but it was
Oh.
supposed to be removed in that first round.
Okay. So if she's been through it, then we should be good.
Yes.
Okay. So any board members have any concerns with any of the changes proposed?
No.
No.
Okay. So I think if Nadia, we could just, I'll be happy to make a motion that and I think I'll back up a bit. I think these changes that we're making are consistent with our growth planning committee, comprehensive plan. I'm sorry.
Yes, I agree.
Right.
And
So,
I mean, I want to reiterate, this is not by any means the last opportunity to make any kind of
okay.
shift to this. So this is not, you guys are not voting that this is the exact language that's going to go to the voters in June. This is just going to the select board for review.
is it gonna come back to us to have a vote whether it's consistent with the comp plan? Or
I,
not?
well, so there's a couple more stages. I'm trying to remember all of them from Galen's presentation, but there is definitely more opportunity for the growth planning committee specifically to be involved in this language.
Okay. Because generally, Nadia, what we'll do is once there's a finalized language, it does come back to the committee to make a motion that it's either consistent or it's not consistent, the comp plan. And
Okay.
that helps to provide at least some validity that it's been looked at by folks who were responsible for writing the comprehensive plan, and that they feel it's consistent, and therefore it gives it a little more validity in the courts for the
Sure.
land use ordinance, right? So it's
And
important that we do that.
Yep, and we do in our office as well. I mean, we keep a pretty strong eye on the comp plan as well.
Sure.
So this we feel pretty good about these changes being in line with that, but certainly it will be good to have further review and comparison by the GPC.
Okay. So do you need that vote tonight or not? Because I'd be happy to put one forward based on the changes that are written that we feel is consistent with the comp plan.
That would be
Well, we can take that vote, and then if there are changes, we'd have to
Okay.
do it again.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. So I'll make that motion that I feel it's consistent with the comprehensive plan.
I second.
Second. Any discussion on that? Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Was that all four? All those opposed? Okay. So that's
Yes, that was
four,
everything.
nothing. Yep, so 4-0 in favor. And then I think the only couple things to follow up on is to make sure that Amy did have a review on that reduction of the eliminating the only one structure on the dwelling unit for the single lots. And also to make sure that town's protected if during the emergency response, we remove trees and brush and stuff within the shoreline zone and won't be liable to have to replant and so forth.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, folks, that was a pretty quick meeting, shorter than I even thought it was going to be. Any other business to discuss? Okay. Hearing none, I'll take a
Do we-
motion. Go ahead.
Do we need, I was just going to ask whether we need the second meeting in January?
That's a good question. I know there were things that we asked about the other changes that we wanted to work, so we want to at least start working on those for November. I don't know, Nadia, I guess that'd be in your court, whether you and Galen feel you have time before the next meeting to continue those discussions.
I would say we'd probably be better off waiting until February. I don't think that there's anything pressing that needs to be done at the next January meeting. As far
Okay.
as I know, I'll check in. I'll double check with Galen to make sure he doesn't have anything on his mind for 2 weeks from now. But it will certainly give us more time to look through everything if we push out till the first February meeting. He's just getting back into the
Yeah.
state, so
Sure.
having it'll take us a little bit of time to catch up on that. So I think from a staff perspective, just making sure that we have the answers for you guys, February makes sense, but I'll check in with Gail and see if he has anything he wanted to discuss at the next meeting, and then I'll get back to you guys.
All right. Personally, February would look better for me because I'll be traveling that week of the 20th. So I wouldn't be able to get to the call being in the air. So,
Okay.
And
all
when
right.
is- Cool.
So I think we had the first and third Tuesdays of February. So that's, what is that?
That is the 4th and the 18th.
Those work for me.
Okay. Guess
Okay.
we'll plan on the 4th and the 18th then.
All right. So, All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Thank you all for your time.
Be
Appreciate it.
well. Stay warm.
Bye-bye.
Stay warm. Bye-bye.